All right. So we talking about today is a little bit of Latin culture. So title of this video, Latin Culture Part 1. Today we're going to discuss how a number of things, three things to be exact. First, we're going to discuss how people socialize in Latin culture based off of my experience. We're going to discuss matriarchy versus patriarchy, or rather patriarchy versus matriarchy. And finally, we're going to end the discussion talking about how people party in Latin America. All right. So, number one, how people socialize. Based on my travels, I traveled to a number of different Latin American countries to include Mexico. That was my first Latin American country. From there, I've also been to Panama, Costa Rica, Brazil, the amazing Brazil, that houses the amazing martial art I do, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Colombia. I've been to the U.S. territory, Puerto Rico. I've also been to La República Dominicana, and I have. That's pretty much it for now. But my exploration is continuing to move forward as time goes on. But when I'm in the countries, uh, one of the biggest things I notice um, is the contrast of how people socialize as compared to where I'm from. So one of the biggest things I notice is that people are very touchy feely, very friendly. It's a very much a nuclear family base within much of Latin America. People are very close knit with their family, with their madre, padre. Everybody is really well connected. They keep in touch. Um, in contrast to more of a Western society, which is a bit more individualistic. Now you have some of that creeping in various countries. Many of the people I talked to specifically said it was in Costa Rica when the guys I fought with and I hung out with and partied with, and then also a tiny bit in Brazil with some of my mentors. They brought that to my attention. However, it's different. That is still a bit much of the old traditional way of doing things where family sticks together. They really, really stick together. I mean, if you're in America right now, a lot of uh, you hear these jokes more so in the Mexican community about you might have 50 deep in that one house, which is not really the case, but you'll have the whole family, you'll have aunts, cousins, all living on one roof, and they're all building together to create something. Although when I was growing up, there was a large amount of Jamaicans and people from the Caribbean islands that came to like Baltimore and New York and so forth. And a lot of times that was a running joke amongst Black people or African Americans too. That Jamaicans, they would have a whole bunch of Jamaicans in one house and they just keep all the money in the family and they build so they can give to their other relatives. So they keep all the money flowing, circulating within their own community. But it's also in Latin America too. There's a lot of that. Um, where contrast to where I'm from in my country, where people are very individualistic. You'll have a lot of infighting. You have infighting in any family, but you'll have it's a bit more fragmented, if you will, within the individualistic culture of Western society, particularly like in Canada, United States, UK, etc. Um, in addition to that, you'll find that people, when they do socialize, like one of the biggest things I noticed when I was in Brazil, for instance, is that I do jujitsu, of course. So afterwards, me and the guys and the professor, we went, had some drinks and so forth, and we would socialize for hours and hours, which is a bit of a contrast to America where you have that. People go out, have beers and so forth, but it's normally, oh, I got to get back to missus or to the wife or the family. And whereas in Latin America, their wife or family would come to the bar or the restaurant and hang out with us. We're all socializing, getting to know one another. Things tend to be a little bit more people tend to be a little bit more distant until they get to know you. Whereas, I mean, I just met those guys when I was just fighting with them, and we had a camaraderie with one another, and so we just linked up. And you have that, of course, in the United States. It's not what's the word? It's not uh, just one way here in the U.S., but in Western society. However, generally speaking, people tend to want to keep their distance until they get to know you. People are a little bit more suspicious of one another, and a lot of that that's on a deep level. Um, Even more so the individualism, harkening back to mind control and the media, Medusa, what the meaning behind that word I just said, and looking into those two aforementioned words and understanding where they come from and how the TV can tell lies to your vision and keep you scared of people. Whereas I know when I travel around people, and I know this again, you know this in America too, particularly in urban communities. People tend to read people's body language. They tend to, read. So they observe you. They see you're a cool person. They still, mindful of you, but people, they just kind of a little bit less. They trust a little bit more into their intuitive abilities, if you will. Um, Another thing I noticed is that I did see a lot of people doing this, like on their cell phone and walking around and not looking where they're going, but it was much, much less. And I've seen that. I didn't see that much in Brazil. I didn't see that much in Colombia or some of the other countries I went to. I saw more people. They kind of. I saw. First, I saw more relationships. I saw more men and women cohabitating and engaging with one another in a bonding manner when I was in Latin America too than in the States. Um, Also, in my country, the United States, being in shape is a pretty big deal. I mean, well, actually, let me take that back. Being in the United States, being in shape is not a big deal. But, as far as attraction concerned, it is. However, when I was when I was in Puerto Rico, you might see a fat dude with a banger, literally. And I mean, you can see that here too. But I mean, it could be a guy that's just regular. And, you will see it. Whereas here in the States, you don't see that much. Normally, it's normally like a rating scale system, and you will see is normally in addition to being able to be good with your words and attracting, you also got to look the part too. Looks really matter in the States, and it matters overseas too, depending like especially in Brazil. But I found overall it was a little bit. It wasn't. It wasn't the most important thing. I found that while looks and money and so forth definitely matter, hypergamy matters everywhere on this planet, Japan and South Korea, which I can talk about in a later program. But I found the people, the women and so forth to be more focused on like a connection. Um, and I noticed this, it seemed like a very much of the country seemed a bit of a romantic culture. Um, Whereas in the States, I find that you have people that's on that too, that romance ideology, but it's more focused on money, money. And you'll find that people that are, they probably don't have no money at all. They're looking for somebody for a come up. Now you'll see that obviously overseas too. But what I'm saying is the fact that I would find, for instance, with the opposite gender, it would be also about who you are. Like, what are you about? Whereas contrast to, let's say, a Western society is, what's your job? First thing I ask, what do you do for a living? What is your job? I mean, counting how much money you make or attempting to count it, which is kind of hard when you're doing a person that has multiple streams. But it, that's it is all like it's more about that which probably factors into the fact that the divorce rate is over 50% and is mostly initiated by women, which to an intelligent man, he's like, well, why would he engage in something so suicidal? in nature, at least to his pockets and sanity. But I noticed that I saw a little bit more of an interest of who I am as a person. Also, I found that gender roles was much more practiced, and that's going to segue into the second part of this video, um, talking in relation to Latin culture, patriarchy versus matriarchy. Now, much of Latin America, I find the societies to be very patriarchal. Um, there's some good with that. Some people say there's some bad with that, like machismo and the ill effects of that in Honduras, which is horrible. However, many people will say. However, I found in a lot of ways it was good in the sense that everybody had, like there was gender roles. Men had a role, women had a role. When I'm in America, you have in a lot of Western society, you'll have women like cutting their hair short, and they're trying to like maybe have this thing where anything a man can do, I can do better. When from a scientific and spiritual standpoint, a lot of this talked about in the Bible in codified manner. Um, there's principles. There's a masculine principle and there's a feminine principle, and they all come together, right? They come together to build and create things. And it's not in a spirit of competition per se. Is an evolution and evolution. When I'm in a lot of Western societies, it's always about this competition thing. I gotta compete against you, and that's good. Competition builds character. It builds strength, fortitude. It builds a go-getter attitude, and that's good. It has its place in the human experience. But I think when you are dating someone, you shouldn't be constantly trying to compete against them. You shouldn't be thinking, oh well, I I need to try to start shit crap with this person or try to emasculate them. That's not creating. You should examine. You should get to know each other, see the kind of character a person is. If they're what you're looking for, and so forth. That's real. Maybe a bit of testing, but it shouldn't be constant. It should be about building something bigger than the both of you. And that's not just in dating, even in working environments. Now, I have not worked in a lot of Latin countries. Some people I talked to, Panama and so forth, they told me it's a bit similar to America. But I noticed there's always like a competition thing in the work environment where I gotta compete against this person because they're race, or I'm jealous of this guy. He's black, successful, educated. I'm intimidated by this guy. This guy is defying all my ridiculous stereotypes. I'm scared for my life. You know, um, I don't know how it is that part of Latin America. I don't know how it is in the workplace, but I do notice within my uh, uh, female relations, um, it's is more of a gender role where the woman knows her place and I know my place, and we not trying to be each other. I'm not trying to be no female, obviously. I don't go like that, and the women aren't trying to be a man either. So I like that aspect of Latin culture, at least based off of what I've experienced so far. Again, there is some feminism in the culture, but I don't think it's to the degree to where it's corrupted the minds of the the women to where they're trying to you know like pretend that somebody's gonna rape them for talking to them, like, or that they gotta like have a physical altercation in the elevator because you didn't change the baby's diapers, blowing millions and millions of dollars just so they can try to emasculate you. Stupid crap like that that's not financially savvy nor smart. You keep that all in the house. That's another thing. I did not see that many women trying to argue with a man in public. In certain communities in the United States, women feel that they should physically put their hands on a man, which is ridiculous. Unless you are trying to stave off a sexual assault or protect your children, you do not need to be putting your hands on a man. That's crazy. I don't. And especially when you are doing it over trivial matters, the yelling and trying to instigate you to fight you. I did not find it for me. I didn't find that happen that much. I did have some experience, which I talked about on my this blog motivation movements when I was in DR, the Dominican Republic, and I had some much smaller issues that happened when I was when I was in Panama, but it was non consequential. But be that as it may, you get my point. There's a respect value for men and women. And a lot of that harkens back to the culture of the upbringing of the women, where they told that you need to respect your husband, your father. You need to respect men. Men need to respect women. Um, and it's not a matter of you know um, I can do anything you can do. It's a matter of how can we come to collaborate to build together with with understandings of each other's position in the universe. Finally, the parties, man. The parties, I tell you, man. Like Colombians, for instance, they know how to get down, man. They be partying, dancing. You have guys, you go up and talk to, you start dancing, whatever, you know how it is. You feeling the beat and all that good stuff, and doing your good two step or whatever you doing, and you go up, you see something nice, and you go up dance with her, and go from there. Y'all vibe with each other afterwards, get the number, maybe go out for drinks the next day or something like that, or maybe even transition to something that same night. So I leave it at that. I love that aspect of it. It's just a very fluid culture that is very open sexually, which is cool for me. I've always been like a physical person, so I like being in that kind of culture that's not restrictive. Contrast that to, I would say, Western society. I think, at least in the United States, people are very apprehensive to deal with people unless they know you. They gotta feel comfortable with you. Now the great equalizer for that obviously is being a celebrity, or if like like myself, if you play football, then you have people that suddenly are more comfortable with you because of that. If you was a star player, you had some game with that, or you're a celebrity or a rapper, or they feel there's some celebrity status with you. You'll you'll get that here in the States too, and also in certain environments within individual cities. I found in the United States it was like that, much to a lesser extent. But there was here in the United States, particularly when I partied in Miami, LA, and certain parts of New York, Manhattan, certain clubs in Brooklyn too, but mostly in Manhattan. Um, but people tend to be a little bit off. And by the way, those three cities happen to be international cities, which attract people from all around the world. So you deal with all these different cultures coming together. So it creates a different vibration than other parts of the, let's say, United States of America. But generally speaking, I find that in the West, people are a little bit closed off. They got to get to know you. And once they get to know you, then they feel more comfortable with you. Also, racism is a big part of Western culture, with the origins of colonialism, and it is in Latin America too, um, with the colorist caste system there. However, I found with regards to partying, I just find perhaps my gringo status plays a part to that. Although I think uh, my handsome good looks plays an even bigger part in it. Just saying, but I think that the people, they're just a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more chill. I think the drinking age is like 18 in most of these countries, and I'm not sure how much of that's followed, but um, I just think that for instance, in Latin America, you'll you'll see it very frequently, even in Puerto Rico, which is a U.S. territory. You'll see a lot. You'll see, like, if you're a black woman, you'll see a black woman with white guys, or white skinned men, and there's nothing. It's not a big deal. Um, People, you'll see a lot of mingling of the races, a little bit more. Um, I find like it's more so there. Like if you dress well and you make sure you're well groomed and you smell good, dance good. Those things are kind of like those are the most important things. You have a personality. I find that in the States that's the case too, as it is anywhere in the world. However, I think that Race, unfortunately, that's just my opinion. I mean, if you are watching around from another part of the world, you kind of, I talked to a lot of people from different countries, and you all told me that America looks like it's insane. And I mean, it is with the socializing, the social aspect of it with the race thing. But in America, people literally will not talk to somebody that they like simply because they're race, but they'll keep liking you. It's a very weird economy, and you had that. I saw that in Latin America, but just to a much lesser extent. And that was cool for me. And that was most of the countries. Um, but yeah, I think that when you're talking partying, the people they really get down. They and they party for hours. Is I would say if you're in America, you never been to Latin America, any Latin American countries. What I was partying in Playa del Carmen, Mexico, or I was partying in Cancun, or I was partying in Lapa's, the neighborhood of Lapa in Brazil, Rio de Janeiro, or if I was partying in Medellin, Colombia. Um, Even if I was partying in Panama City, the people, or even when I was in Santo Domingo, the people, man, they party, man. They party and party, 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 party. It's like if you've never been to Latin America, it's like New York City. Like New York City, pretty much everywhere in all the major cities. Which is a contrast, a little bit of a contrast to let's say like Baltimore, where most things start shutting down around 2, based off when I was last there. Um, so I mean, the party keeps going on and on and on and on and on and on. Um, Now, that's not to say that's with every country. Now, when I'm in, let's say Costa Rica, that's a Latin country in Central America. But from my experience, I feel the people are very chill. Some people think they wild, but that's not the wildest country I've been to. The people are very chill, even with the way they party and get down. This is a neighborhood called La California in San Jose. That's like the major party district. And when it was open pre pandemic, people would party, it would get down, you know what I'm saying? Like it was cool, but it wasn't, I don't think it was as crazy as some of the other places I've been to, like Lapa and Rio de Janeiro. And I have a video of the party scene and how it looks when everything is open and grooving and going the way it should be. And my blog, my vlog, motivational movement. It's called 1100. So check it out. It's one of my earlier videos that I produced a couple years ago. But yeah, I mean that's my thoughts on Latin culture. Latin culture is it's so many things. That's just 3 of them. 3 topics that highlight Latin culture, the way that people socialize, how many of the countries have embraced more of a patriarchal mindset, and then also the fact that when it comes to partying, the people get down to numero uno as far as partying and nightlife in many of the countries, to include Brazil, Colombia, and then also in a lot of ways the Dominican Republic. So yeah, that was my thoughts, and I hope you enjoyed. Till next time, peace.